The FBI has apparently executed a search warrant on another congressperson. It's becoming like a constant, but this one stands out because Tennessee Republican Representative Andy Ogles is accused of a lot of stuff. Most important, most serious is alleged fraudulent campaign finance reports, and we're gonna get into the details of that. Big sums of money that apparently were not classified correctly. But that's kind of just the tip of the iceberg because more and more details are coming out about this guy. And it's making him seem a little bit like George Santos 2.0, but we're gonna evaluate the evidence and see what we think. So FBI searches began reporting last year about discrepancies in his financial disclosures, including a $320,000 personal loan that he allegedly gave his campaign. He finally admitted that the loan was not real back in May, amending his disclosure forms to confirm he only transferred $20,000 to his campaign. The $320,000 figure was included on his disclosure forms as a mistake. I love that, as a mistake. What's the mistake? Your pen slipped and you wrote in a 3? What does that mean? It kind of seems like it being found was the mistake, but again, I don't want to get ahead of the allegations.
A storm is tearing up the digital media industry. Only our audience can save us in these difficult times. Help us reach our goal of 100,000 new members at tyt.com/team.
Earlier this year, watchdog group Campaign Legal Center filed a complaint against Ogles with the Office of Congressional Ethics, accusing the congressman of failing to, quote, properly disclose his financial interests and claiming that his financial disclosures, quote, include over $1 million in financial discrepancies. So there are a lot of big figures being thrown around, but we're gonna have to get into the investigation. There appears to have been some stuff going on. And that same ethics committee complaint compared him to George Santos for reasons that we're gonna get into. So aside from just the money stuff, he apparently embellished his resume ahead of the 2022 midterm elections, shades of George Santos. In particular, he doesn't have a degree or formal training as an economist, although he claims to. So he has called himself an economist. He took only one community college economics course, which he apparently barely passed. It wasn't like he aced this one course and he was like, I got this, I don't need any more. He barely passed it. It's a thing that like he kind of took. It's like everybody who went to college, you take like your gen eds the first year or whatever. Are you now an expert in all of those things? But that's what he was claiming. He also claimed to have majored in international relations. That's not true, he didn't do that. He's also questioned for having been involved in international sex trafficking while having served as a volunteer reserve deputy, because you can't have a scandal-prone Republican without something weird sexual going on. And so these are very serious allegations, the sex trafficking, the money, the other stuff with the resume. That's lying that we're now finding out apparently people just routinely do when they run for office, which means that the media needs to check these people. But his electronic devices were confiscated, and we don't know whether there's gonna be an indictment, although it's looking like it might move in that direction. And so he's looking bad. He looks like it's one thing if you have the financial disclosure issue. You try to write it off as just being a mistake. But when we now have this documented track record of you routinely lying, it becomes a little bit harder to believe that it was just an innocent mistake. What do you think?
I think somebody's in trouble. And I would say call Santos to see how it works out for him, but we know how that ends. Although he's doing quite well on, what is it? Those
Cameo?
sites where OnlyFans, and then he's on the other one too. So maybe that's his future, but this is not looking good. And I think we have to take another, not just look at the money that's spent on these campaigns, but look at some of the people who are running as they submit their paperwork, on the front end, the people who are supposed to protect us, watch after us. This is a problem.
Yeah, people have been talking about whether we need to set up some sort of like mental fitness or cognitive fitness exam for our elected officials. I think we should have like a mandated transcript sort of review, because man, do they love lying about their education and everything. And by the way, if you just went to like community college, that's totally fine or whatever. But it's trying to take like a brief experience and make it out that that's your expertise. So I guess you're judging by that, like anybody want to learn calculus? I'm a master of it or something because I took a course. Again, this is ridiculous. But to be fair, we're to end with a statement from the congressman. He said, It has been widely reported for months that my campaign made mistakes in our initial financial filings. We have worked diligently with attorneys and reporting experts to correct the errors and ensure compliance going forward. Last Friday, the FBI took possession of my cell phone. It is my understanding that they are investigating the same well-known facts surrounding these filings. I will, of course, fully cooperate with them, just as I have with the FEC. I am confident all involved will conclude that the reporting discrepancies were based on honest mistakes and nothing more. That could happen, especially when it comes to like financial disclosures. The government generally, I think, goes pretty easy on them. Like, look at the Stock Act. Like, that's the limited requirements we have for disclosure for a lot of what they do and raise and the money they make on the stock market. And he could be right that that's the only reason they're doing this new seizure. He could also be wrong. They could be looking for evidence into some of these other things. We're gonna look into them more. I'm not intimately aware of all that he's been alleged to have done, but it might end up being worse than it seems. But we'll see, we'll see. If in the end he does have to step down though, I would say, look, we're never gonna get lying totally out of our politics. Politicians routinely lie, that's how they work. But we should at least know when they're running, who they are and what they've done. I don't think that that is a high bar to set. We get to know where you went to school. We get to know what work you did. We get to know what you've advocated for. That's how a democracy works. We have to punish a few of them, perhaps quite harshly, so that those running in the future don't think that they can just wildly lie and get one over on the American people. When you click the join button and become a tier 2 member, you get access to all of our weekly top 10 lists. What are you waiting for?